Welcome to Help Me Help Mama livecast. I'm Cindy Orlachek-Jones. Today I am joined by Krista Hughes. Krista is with Caring Transitions of Little Rock Metro. This is an exciting thing I want you guys to know about. Caring Transitions is a franchise, so these are all over the country, but Krista is here in Central Arkansas. So those of you who are caregivers here can call her and pick her brain, get information from her. And if you have a loved one here in Central Arkansas and you live in California or New York or Texas and you need help, call Krista. She's going to give you some really good information today. We're going to talk first about some of the things that Krista does. So let's start with overview. Tell them what you do.
Caring Transitions is the nation's largest resource for downsizing, relocation management, and liquidations of personal property, such as through estate sales or online auctions. So what we do is we're a full solution company for any person, but we have a special niche for our senior adults that we serve. And so we will go in when someone is looking to make a decision about transitioning to a new level of housing. It could be supported housing in an assisted living. It could be downsizing to just a smaller home or condo. It could be moving in with an adult child. And so we will go in and consult with the family to determine what their plans are, what their goals are, and how to best set up a schedule to make that as successful as possible.
Okay, you're talking about planning now. Ideally, what type of time frame are we talking about would be ideal for making this change?
It's going to vary per person. We have done moves where we got a call one day to pack the very next day, but the planning had been in place by the family for some time.
Okay.
We have other clients who called us one day to plan, to pack the next day, where there was zero planning. They simply put their house for sale, just threw a sign out in the yard thinking they would have 2 or 3 or more months to make those plans, and sold that day, and they didn't have a clue what to do. It also was influenced by what's going on with the senior adults. Since we're talking about seniors, is if the person has any kind of physical or cognitive impairments, if they are well and healthy and lively folks who are just making a retirement decision to downsize and move. There's a lot of factors at play, and that's why it's so important to have a sit-down conversation to really find out, again, what the goals are and what the challenges might be for that particular project or job.
Okay, and you mentioned, if we put a sign out in the yard and it sells today, and you're like, oh, it's like an error. What do I do? Oh my God. You said the term transition trauma. Can you elaborate on that? And because people don't, I didn't think about this until, if you go through it in the physical change it can cause you to have.
Right. Transition trauma is actually a medical term, and it is associated with a buildup of anxiety, stress, things that we do. We all go through that when we are going through a move. When you're going through a move in your 20s, it's different than maybe going through the same anxiety and stress, uncertainties associated with the changes that come in late life. And so if you are struggling with any types of dementia, if you have arthritis, if you have congestive heart failures, Parkinson's disease, any type of disability or infirmity, then the actual stress associated with the move that is just really not either desired or is not well thought out can trigger inflammatory conditions associated with what you already have. So the arthritis could get worse. You could be in much, much more pain. You might stumble and fall more if you have a disorder similar to the Parkinson's that I was mentioning, or other neuromuscular type of disorders. If you have any type of mental impairment or cognitive impairment, such as the dementias, related dementias to Alzheimer's, then what you might have is a lot more confusion. You might, you just simply might have sleep disturbances. Anything that can cause you to be at unrest is going to trigger symptoms, and it's called transition trauma, similar to going through a traumatic injury, car accident, being mugged. The kind of trauma that you relive is associated also with the transition trauma of moving. If you don't handle it right, I used to manage assisted living properties, and I would see people that I had dealt with for several weeks and thought it would be a perfect move in. What I wasn't aware of is what was happening on the home side of things. And then when they actually moved in, you could tell which ones had a very successful transition to community life, in that how the families handled the move into their community.
That's amazing. I can imagine it impairing your digestion too.
Right.
Because of all the inflammation.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about downsizing, because if you've got a 2,000 square foot house and all the furniture in it and you want to transition to assisted living, how do you help them do that?
Okay, so the first thing you do, and I can't stress enough that planning is just very, very important. So you have to know what type of housing you're going to transition to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know the size, of where you're going.
That's part of your plan.
Right, and what we actually have is we have a software that can, like space planning, there, you can do this. Mm-hmm. And so what we can do is measure your furniture that you really, really want to take with you, and we can add that to the floor plan of the environment where you're going, the setting where you're going, and we can make sure that what you want the most will go with you and will fit and look great. So space planning is one. Then what we do is we go through a process where we just have the client start kind of building categories or piles, if you will. And so what's most important to keep? What do you want to gift to your family or friends, to your church? Do you have a favorite nonprofit that you want to make donations to help support the nonprofit? And so you just kind of at that point categorizing your items, your personal property that you want to make disposition of.
So you write that down?
So we help them with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you do for senior relocation?
Well, that's kind of like the umbrella, if you will, for move management. So we can work with a realtor. We can refer. If you don't have a realtor already, we can refer and get you some folks to interview. We can set up the schedule of events that will occur during the process of your move. We can work with movers. We can get estimates for your move job. We can actually do the packing. We can do the unpacking. We can actually set a term called resettling, where we can actually take the furnishings, everything that's been packed, and completely set up the new home so that when the senior comes in, it's like they're walking into their home. It might be smaller, but it's their things. It's their things.
Mm-hmm.
The pictures that were on the mantle are on a different shelf, but they're there in the same kind of organizational layout, if you will, that your eye will trigger and send those signals to you that you're home. And that's probably one of the things I like the most. What we want to do is get the senior out of the chaos of the logistics of the move, and we want to handle that. There's a lot of things, the utilities, the mail, how to forward mail and that kind of thing. There's a lot of little ticky things that you just simply have to solve for. And as much as possible, when you really start going through the decluttering and clearing phase, and then the actual move, it's a very chaotic scene at times, even when it's organized. And we want to remove that senior from that. We want them to be in a pleasant setting and maybe going down memory lane in conversations, and then when they come back, they're still coming home.
Great. Okay, so the third step is estate sales and auctions. And you say you had some online and some live.
Correct.
Like at their home?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I hear the word estate sale used generically for moving sales, just for any kind of effort to get rid of things. There's a lot of sites that have come on the scene now, like Get Rid of It, and some other things, Craigslist,
online,
where
yes.
you can simply list particular items that you want to sell. When you look at a larger body of items, such as associated with one's estate, it becomes a much larger project. We can do a physical sale in the home. That takes a lot of labor to set that up, so it takes several days to do that, generally speaking, because what we're doing is we're decluttering when we do that. And so there will be things where we might even need to make a run to the donation site or to a dump site prior to actually staging the home. And then you stage the home, and then you have a sale for a couple of days or so, and then you close that out. So there's a timeline associated with just an estate sale itself that might be comfortable for what's the project's goals. It might not be. It might need to be faster than that. the estate value might not support the labor associated with an in-home estate sale. So we have an online auction for Caring Transitions, and so we can run that similar to eBay or other auction sites, and where there's just one pickup point. Some folks might live in areas that are restricted or live on streets where you simply can't get traffic, traffic down. The home might be just not set up, for a good physical sale.
Right. Okay. So if you have questions for Krista, go ahead and type them in. If you want to contact her, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, in this business, I like to talk to folks. I'm a little chatty Kathy.
Cell phone number here.
Yeah, my cell phone number is area code 501-247-1887. That's 501-247-1887. And I would like to just give my website. You can email me that. My website is www.caringtransitionslrm.com. So would love to have you visit the website.
Thank you for being here with us today. This is a lot of good information for our caregivers. Think about that transition trauma that's still going around in my head. Thank you for being a caregiver. You are making a huge difference in your loved one's life. And thank you for joining us. Have a great day.